Hello, welcome back to my journey on the artist's way. This week, it is week 3, so let's get into it, alright? I'm in a bit of a different location today. I'm at my parents' house in Wolverhampton. I played a gig last night at the Hare and Hounds in Birmingham, and I'm just waking up, I've got my cup of tea, I'm in my pyjamas still, and it always just feels like a childhood sleepover when I come here, and I always sleep so well. I sleep like a baby when I'm here, and I'm just currently really soaking in how much I actually enjoy coming to see my parents and being in my old childhood room. And I guess it just kind of conjures up a lot of feelings of nostalgia and comfort. So week 3 is about recovering a sense of power. And in the readings, Julia Cameron touches upon themes of anger, shame, and synchronicity. And I like that she's touched upon anger, because I think and that afterwards she talks about shame, and I think they're interlinked. And I think, as artists, perhaps feeling envious towards other artists in terms of seeing what they're up to in terms of their career and being envious of that. I've always thought if you get angry about something or whatever, listen, well, any kind of emotion you feel, listen to it, and what is it really telling you, sit with it and listen to it. And Julia Cameron mentions with anger to use it as a fuel, but because we're nice people, we actually don't express our anger. We kind of deny it, we bury it, we block it, and we hide it. We do everything but listen to it. Whereas anger is meant to be listened to. Anger is a voice, a shout, a plea, and a demand. Anger is meant to be respected. I quite like that. But why? Because anger is a map, okay? Anger is a tool. Anger shows us what our boundaries are. And anger shows us where we want to go. And I use that already, really, as a bit of an internal roadmap for myself. If I feel something and I listen to it, I sit down with it and I think, well, why am I feeling like that? And then, well, how can I use it? The readings in week 3, I think, are very righteous. For instance, I have learned as a rule of thumb never to ask whether you can do something. Say instead that you are doing it. Okay, so it's very forthright, it's very confident. And I think that's kind of perfect timing in terms of it being in week 3. And then it goes into shame, mentioning that shame is a controlling device. Shaming someone is an attempt to prevent the person from behaving in a way that embarrasses us. That shame is re-triggered in us as adults because our internal artist is always our creative child. I think how I can relate to potentially shame is that kind of, I guess, internal ageism, right? Which potentially females feel more so, historically, through cultural ridicule and media and expectations of the female form. I think shame in the sense of, I will be turning 30 next year, and I potentially look back and think, well, what have I really done in my 20s? Despite doing loads of things. And if only I'd have applied myself more, perhaps I'd be in a different position in terms of my music career at this point. And I think age does come in to that where shame does. And I saw a TikTok the other day, and it resonated. It was a good TikTok. It was a valuable TikTok for once. And it was about a woman, and she was in her 40s, and she was an artist, you know, she was making things, she was a creative. And she kind of went on a bit of a speech about people ask her all the time, why is she still making stuff? Like, she's in her 40s now, like, isn't it time to, like, to stop? Like, what are you wanting to achieve from it? Like, maybe you're past that kind of sell-by date, essentially. To which she was just like, well, why can't I just create? Because I am an artist, I'm a creative. That's not just a hobby, that's who I am. Like, what do you mean? What, like, I don't get to wake up one day at a certain age automatically and think, well, that was fun, time to grow out of that. It's something that is within you, and forget the results, forget any outcomes. It's purely just, it is within your personality, within your heart, within your soul, to create, to be a maker of things. And I think that it was just nice to really be reminded of that, because it's so easy, and not with just creative things, I guess, but it's so easy in society to just get wrapped up of like, okay, well, that everything you do has to have a outcome, it has to have a reason as to why you're doing that, an explanation, to kind of justify that it's worth your while. And I actually think, like, that's part of the reason people are so miserable these days, because it feels like everything we do needs to be in order for us to gain something, such as money, or status. And it's like, well, actually, no. And that you're kind of chasing that all the time as well. And that's just exhausting. And it's like, well, what are we actually here for? I mean, that's a giant question. What are we here for? Comment section, go wild. If you're passionate, if you feel compelled instinctively to make music, then you make music. Like, that is the explanation, that is all needed. And then whatever else is attached to that is either your own individual prerogative, aims and ambitions, but also you can just create and you can just do something because you want to. It doesn't have to be just simply hold capitalistic values around every decision that you make. We're just here in life, you know. I think I went somewhere with that. Maybe not. So with the week 3 readings, I've really enjoyed what Julia Cameron touches upon, and I like that we start with anger, we flow into shame and how to take criticism, and then it ends nicely on a more positive note, talking about growth. And I'm just going to read you a couple of sentences from that part. Growth is an erratic forward movement, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Remember that and be very gentle with yourself. A creative recovery is a healing process. You are capable of great things on Tuesday, but on Wednesday you may slide backward. This is normal. Growth occurs in spurts. You will lie dormant sometimes. Do not be discouraged. Think of it as resting. In moments where I guess I'm resting, according to Julia Cameron, I'm always not fully resting because I'm always then semi in a state of, oh, like I should be doing something. Like I've got this time and I want to achieve so and so or this goal. I'm not going to be doing that by, let's just say, sitting on my ass, I guess. Which is true, I guess. However, sometimes actually things fall into your lap because of the legwork you've already done. Such as, for an instance, say as last night with the gig, the promoter reached out to me. This is a new promoter, I've not worked with this promoter, and they reached out to me to play the gig. And they would have only known of my music because of all the previous gigs I've done. So there's some kind of down the line payoff with actions that you do now. So I guess it's just about the sense of like, try not to be too hard on yourself, because I'm always in a constant state of pushing myself. And if I'm not pushing myself, it's kind of almost a bit of ridiculing myself internally, you know, wasting time and whatever. Now let's get on to the tasks. So I've got my little book. I did a lot of writing this week. Not my morning pages. I suck at morning pages. I just don't do them. So for the third week now, I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna try and turn this around. I need to. I want to. And also for my artist date, actually, for this week, which I found really interesting. I had an extra long lunch break at work, and I wanted to get out the building so that whilst I'm not being paid, I'm not available. I moseyed on down to a little coffee shop and sat there with my book. This one right here, I'm addicted to it. One Woman Walks Europe, from Wales to Ukraine and back again. I'm halfway through and I'm just like, ugh, it's amazing. And so I'm sat in the coffee shop, I've ordered a coffee, and I'm reading my book, and I didn't enjoy it. I think because it was so, I don't know whether it's because like the seating, like no sofas were available, so I was kind of sat on a stool and like in the middle of everyone. So I don't know if it was that kind of arrangement where I wasn't just like hidden in kind of a little nook, but I was quite like literally like near the till, quite exposed in the middle. So I didn't know whether that was a factor. Also, the coffee didn't hit like I wanted it to, and I also was like, then, well, I've just paid like £4 for this coffee, and I could have like not paid £4 for this coffee that I didn't really enjoy that much. So then that's on my mind, and I just couldn't really relax, I guess. And then because this was so intentional, because I was so like, oh, I'm going to go to a coffee shop, I'm going to get a coffee, I'm going to read my book, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I didn't. It just wasn't the environment, I guess. But I'm still glad I went, because I think in the book as well, like it does ask like, did you enjoy it? And if not, like also why? Why didn't you enjoy it? You're not meant to enjoy everything, you know, and you can't predict how you're feeling. Like if that was on another day, maybe I wouldn't have felt exactly like that. If I was sat somewhere else, maybe I wouldn't have thought of like that. Who knows? Okay, that was really boring. I'm really sorry. So week 3, a quote I've taken from this week is that the universe will reward you for taking risks on its behalf. Love that. Love, love, love that. So task 1, describe your childhood room. Well, I'm actually in it, and it looks really white and sparse, and it kind of is now because I had loads of things on the wall from my travels over years. You know, I've got framed prints, I've got postcard, like really colourful postcards all over my blue tack to my wall, and loads of things on my shelves, you know, like camera stuff, books, little trinkets, whatever. And that's actually all packed away in a suitcase because my mom wants to repaint the room and all that jazz. So I was like, well, this is all my crap. But yeah, describe your childhood room. So prior to me making it quite naked, it asks what your favourite thing about your childhood bedroom was/is. So I put like pops of colour. I've got, it's a big room. Travel/trinkets of mine, which I was just talking about. And being surrounded by my hobbies. So like I said, I had like loads of camera equipment around, travel memoirs and books on like making fanzines and like iconic musician autobiographies. And it was just like, yeah, it's just me in a room, you know? And also like the kind of multi-purposeness of it. And when I was getting into writing music and even actually playing around with like recording some music, this would be like my bed. I'm sat in my bed right now. Half of the room's my bed. The other half is like a little bedroom studio, essentially. And I just had like a big second-hand, really old Mac for years, and a desk, and like a giant MIDI keyboard, and my guitar, and whatever. And I would just be up all night whilst I was at college, at university, just being in my own little creative bubble. Then it tells you to get something from your old room to then put into your current bedroom. So I'll probably take a postcard because I've got so many, and that's just something so easy that I can put on the wall with blue tack because I'm painting over it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So 5 traits I like in myself as a child. I put wild, energetic, imaginative, expressive, and then I was actually really, really struggling for a 5th. I was really struggling. I put caring, and then I was really second guessing that. Like when I think of my childhood, I just remember like riding my bike, painting, like it's really patchy. It's like, and I just remember playing outside like all the time, and maybe getting into fights with my brother because sibling rivalry, we just obviously didn't get on. And not being able to watch the TV because older brother rules, older sibling rules, they get the TV remote. And playing PlayStation 1, like Spider-Man, Chicken Run, and probably just watching like Lion King a lot. So yeah, I really don't quite know about the 5th one, actually. It's really hard for me to kind of confidently choose a 5th trait. So I've got a strong 4 instead of 5. So wild, because I used to like run around naked all the time. I would, if it had rained or something, I would be out in the garden like naked, splashing in like a pool of mud baths. Great times. I'd be picking up worms, I would be putting like snails on my arms, and my dad would take me fishing with my brother, and we would all have our little rods, but only I would volunteer. I was excited to put the maggots on the hook. My brother would not do that. I loved it. So I was a bit wild like that, wild in nature. 2, expressive, probably embarrassingly so, because I would make up really obviously bad dance routines to songs I was listening to, you know, like Anastasia, Pussycat Dolls, Gwen Stefani, whatever. And then whenever like there'd be a family gathering, I'd be like, hit the CD player, I'd be like, I'm gonna do a dance in front of everyone. Yeah. Second-hand embarrassment from all these years ago. And expressive in a way of one really key key detail I remember about childhood, which is kind of why maybe it relates to that the fifth trait of caring, is my mom was so, and I still am, to be honest, but especially as a kid, I was so emotionally attached to my mom. And my mum used to work a lot of night shifts, and so I just always remember, and it's kind of really sad actually. I always remember, and actually I've got it here because I'm so open and nothing is embarrassing really yet. I've got this monkey. This is my childhood monkey. I love him so much, and he is just called Monkey, obviously. And it would be like, I don't know, it'd be dark out, it would be bedtime time, and my mom would be in the car reversing off the driveway to go to work, and I would literally be like holding this monkey, crying, like watching her pull off the driveway because I didn't want her to go. And then all the time in the background, like my brother and my dad would just be like watching the football. Like, don't leave me here with the football guys. Although then I like football. Like, I love watching the women's football. I used to play football, but I just wanted my mom there. Thirdly, active / energetic, you know, playing outside all the time, riding on my bike. My aunt and uncle are avid, like, adventurous, outdoorsy people, and they used to take us rock climbing all the time, which was fantastic. I did gymnastics, trampolining and swimming, so yeah, I was just a really active kid. And fourth and finally, imaginative, so painting, making up games, and also I would frequently, I don't know if anyone else like relates to this as a kid, because we was just, well, kids are imaginative, like so maybe that was a bit of a cop-out, but I loved the films Toy Story so much. I was obsessed. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, and obviously I was surrounded by all my like teddy bears, like I had loads. And like, obviously they'd be in my bed, right? You know, as I'm sleeping, I'm tossing and turning, like some of them would fall on the floor. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I wouldn't turn the light on. And I would just stare down at these toys on the floor, and like I would stare long enough that like I was convinced that they were like moving, and basically just like Toy Story, and I would just like lie and stare for ages, just letting my imagination do that while semi kind of being convinced it was real, but also kind of being like, it's not real really, is it? No siree. So then it says, write out 5 childhood accomplishments. So here you go. Defeating Lewis and giving him a nosebleed. So me and my brother used to get into so many fights as a kid, when we were kids. And obviously him being older by 4 years, he would win majority. But I remember this one time, and I'm sad to say that I'm really proud of it. Like, because I'm like, yeah, a taste of your own medicine here, but maybe it was a bit too extreme. But there was this one time I was in his box room. Remember that? He was in a small room, smaller bedroom to me completely. But I loved being, you know, in other people's spaces. So I would take my CD player with my Gwen Stefani or Anastasia or the Pussycat Dolls, whatever, whoever I was listening to, put the CD player in his bedroom, and now I'd blast it out and I would be dancing. Like, and there was no room to dance in his room. There was loads more room in my room or any other room, but I would use his room probably to purposely piss him off, really. Because I knew he'd hate it, because you don't go into each other's rooms, right? And he came back and he was like, what? Visibly, obviously pissed off. Like, what are you doing in my room? Like, get out. I'm like, no, I'm dancing here and you can't make me, blah, blah. Anyway, we got into a fight, you know, get out my room, yada, yada, yada. And I pushed him at one point. I pushed him. And then just these, like, it was like a domino effect, right? Sadly, what I'm proud of. And I'm really sorry, Lewis, I shouldn't be proud of at all. But he kind of like tripped over the CD player And he had like a bunk bed at this point as well. And then because he tripped over this CD player, he then like bonked his head on like the bunk bed and then got a nosebleed. And then was like, that fight was then over. I was like, winner! Yeah. All over dancing in a room, which really I probably shouldn't have been dancing in his room because it didn't make sense. So, but that was my number one accomplishment as a child. Getting my swimming certificates. My last one when I was a kid was, I had to swim like 70 lengths in an hour. But I did it. Performing at my first open mic, so I was probably about 14. Learning the guitar, huge accomplishment for me. And then also getting recognition from, I put Mrs. Hull, but I don't think that's her name, sadly. But my old music teacher at school, where I took music GCSE, and we had to record a solo piece, whether you could sing or not as well. So pretty scary for those who couldn't sing. You had to record an original composition with vocals and music. And so I had wrote a song on my acoustic guitar and with lyrics, and I recorded it, submitted it, yada yada. And then like the week later, it was the beginning of the class, she got everyone to sit down and was just like talking about everyone's recordings. And then she was like, but one really stood out to me. I'm going to play it in full to everyone. And it was my it was my composition, which flattering, amazing, but oh my god, did I die of embarrassment because, well, it was like 4.5 minutes long, and she didn't just play a snippet, she played the whole of it. But she was just like, Bryony, didn't know you could sing. And I didn't know I could sing at that point either. I was just singing because we had to. And she was just, and so it was actually her pointing that out was actually the starting point of me being like, oh, okay, I can sing and people actually enjoy it. I can be a singer. Cool. 5 favourite childhood foods. Cake mixture, loved eating that shit. Jelly cubes. Gravy, still addicted to gravy, I'm not gonna lie. Flumps, you know, like the marshmallowy things. And also the blackjack and fruit salad sweets. So good. Used to get them after school from like the estate agents or whatever. 3 rotten habits that I have now. Maybe just watching too much TV. Lip picking. Sometimes my lips through these videos, throughout all my videos, will probably change because I've done it since the first day I was on this earth, and I still do it now. Not so much, but when it comes into winter months, it gets worse, obviously, because my lips get dry and cracked more. But when I'm reading, I do it really, or when I'm anxious or anything, and I basically peel my lips until they bleed. So that's fun. I wrote a bit of a song once called Frequency, which is my first single out, and that kind of touches upon that, so maybe check that out. Not going to the gym because I've in my head made the excuse that there's no time to exercise, even though I know if I keep that going, I'll feel horrible about myself and I'll beat myself up for not going to the gym because I can go to the gym, I do have time. And it's just an excuse because I'm like, oh, I'd rather go home, probably. And then followed by putting things off. I'm very good at that in a way. Nurturing friends. I found this semi-hard. Really have to think about these things, huh? Matt, my producer, sharing creative ideas, bouncing creative energy off one another, availability. I know I can always really rely on Matt, like whether that's just like sending him a text and talking to him within the same day or booking time to work with him in the studio, etc. Ongoing belief and encouragement, really important to me. I was put Sam Wood. He's a prolific Birmingham photographer in the music scene. I don't see him often, but we've been friends for years, and I think we've just always got that understanding of like, we'll be friends forever, even if we just see each other like once a year or anything. So I just think whenever we do chat, it's very much like creative to another creative, very understanding of creative processes and hardships as well. Dan Walton, the bass player in my band, and also a friend I've known since school. In terms of nurturing, his knowledge of the music industry, of the music business, and his straightforward talking and like being able to like, again, throw these kind of more businessy ideas around when we get together. Honesty as well, I get that keeps cropping up, so clearly that's important to me, and openness, and also just kindness, support and help, you know, whenever I do reach out for it. Also my Aunt Mary, who was the one who used to take me rock climbing all the time. She has been a consistent and really vocal support for anything I do, and it's just like overtly, has always been overtly proud and commenting on the things that I'm doing, no matter how small, and that has really cut through like all the noise, and has you know, that's really been beneficial, as I come from like more of like a quiet family. 5 people that I admire, I kept it kind of in my kind of day-to-day vicinity. So I admire Zoe Graham, Catherine Priddy, Kira, Yanez, Rachel Croft, and Ursula Martin. So Ursula Martin, where's it gone? Currently really admiring her because she wrote this book and I love it, and she is inspiring me so much. The rest are all musicians in their own right and are making moves, doing stuff which I really admire, and kind of are help me kind of to map out what I want and what I want to aim towards, and so I've got admiration there. So thank you. Miss Cameron asks if there's been any issues within the week, and I would say I have been a bit more distracted from the artist's way, where it's felt a little bit more like a chore rather than something that I'm purposely making time for. I think because I've been so busy, I haven't been able to kind of have my alone time to create, and I think I get quite grumpy actually about that. And I think, oh my god, like I'm itching to do it, like I'm itching to write new music, but I've just been really busy with this gig yesterday and being really sociable. Whenever I come back to Wolverhampton, obviously all my friends are here essentially, in Birmingham or around, and so whenever I'm back, it's always like there's no let up. I'm always like seeing someone and whatnot, so which is great because I'll then go back to my normal routine and I'm in my own space again, which is nice and not isolating. What's the word? Solitude, and I'm a huge fan of solitude. I love it. And just to end this, Miss Cameron asks if there's been any synchronicity in my week. Maybe something's happened within the week which has synced up with your intentions, I guess. And in terms of this journey, like my creative journey, me being a musician, etc., I put these 3 things down as things that have happened literally this week, which I thought I would share anyway. So there is a music platform based in the UK called Music Gateway. You may want to check it out if you're a musician, you may find it useful. But they launched for next year a funding scheme, a funding process called the Breakout Artists Programme for 2026, where one lucky sod gets £20,000, obviously expert advice, etc. from Music Gateway. And basically I submitted my music and I've made it to round 2. Fabulous. that syncs with me because I need money for my music, and I would benefit so much. My career would benefit so much with, I think, being put in contact with the right person, the right team, the right advice, to go the next steps. So fingers crossed. I've just graduated for my third time, which was this week as well, as a teacher. I've just graduated from my 2-year PGCE course, so I've got that. I'm qualified. Awesome. And so that's happened, but then within the same week, I've seen that my old university, BCU, basically they're offering free, fully funded PhDs within my old specialisms that I did in my undergraduate and my master's degree, which was amongst, you know, media and cultural studies, you know, looking at popular music. Well, that's literally in my area, it's ticking all the boxes, and I'm kind of like, huh, because I've always wanted to do a PhD. But since being out of the university environment, like, you kind of, well, you get familiar in other environments, don't you? And then you think, well, could I ever have done a PhD? But when you're in that environment, you feel empowered, you feel capable, you've got other people supporting you. So I was like, oh, okay, well, in terms of an academic sink, and yeah, that is all. So I think it's been, overall, actually looking back, it's been a good week. It's just been a really busy week. And last night was my last gig of the year. By the way, it went really well. It was a really great show. Yeah, and I met, at the end of it, just the icing on the cake, I met Miles Hunt, the English singer-songwriter from The Wonder Stuff. Turns out Matt, who's my producer, who played the gig with me last night, as we do like a duo, stripped back duo, beautiful set. His old band, the Young Runaways, actually supported Miles Hunt on a few shows, probably 10 years ago, back when they were gigging. And so he got given one of my CDs, because I was like, obviously you don't know who I am, but... And he was such a nice bloke. So it was nice just to have a nice chat. That was great. So hopefully Miles Hunt also listens to my music. That would be so cool. And then, you know, really likes it as well. And another door potentially opens. So that was cool. And that's also another part of why I miss Birmingham. I miss being in the city, and I only kind of feel that when I'm here, because it's just like, it's been my old stomping ground, and I miss the idea of like going into a bar and stuff and always like bumping into someone that you know, it's community, isn't it? And I need to begin building a community where I currently am, which is not the West Midlands at the Mo. But that's for me to figure out, not for you guys. So I'll see you for week 4.